The sky above the city was dull and gray. Clouds hung low, heavy with dust and smoke. Broken towers and shattered buildings stretched across the land, like silent monuments of a civilization that had once been proud and strong. The streets were empty except for a few scattered figures moving cautiously, their faces worn with fear and hunger. Among them was a small figure barely 10 years old with wide, frightened eyes and tattered clothes. She moved quietly, careful not to attract attention. Her name was Lyra. She had not known a real home for many months. Her parents had disappeared during a raid by the ruling overlords of the planet, and the city she loved had turned into a place of suffering. Every day was a test of survival. She scavenged scraps of food, hid from armed patrols, and slept wherever she could find a corner that felt safe. But the city offered little safety. Lyra stopped at the edge of a collapsed street. The ground was uneven, and sharp debris poked through the broken pavement. She crouched down, trying to catch her breath, her small hands trembling. Hunger gnawed at her belly. But worse than hunger was the feeling of being completely alone. The people who once cared had either left or turned away. The city had forgotten her, and she had begun to forget what it felt like to be safe. In the distance, a patrol of armored guards moved slowly, their boots crunching over rubble. They were humans in the strict sense, though their armor was alien to Lyra's eyes. She recognized them immediately. They were part of the ruling overlords. They were known for cruelty, for punishing anyone who dared to break the strict laws. She pressed herself against the wall of a ruined building and held her breath. The guards passed, their eyes scanning the streets for any sign of disobedience. Lyra exhaled quietly and hugged her knees. She had nowhere to go. The shelters were full or had been destroyed. The marketplace, once a place of laughter and trade, now smelled of rot and ash. Every corner of the city seemed dangerous. Every shadow could hide a threat. And yet she had no choice but to keep moving. As she made her way through the broken streets, she saw other children. They too had lost their families. Some hid in empty buildings, some stole scraps of food, and some simply sat on the steps of ruined homes, staring at nothing. Lyra's heart ached for them. She wanted to help, but she was too small, too weak, and too alone. She could barely take care of herself. A sudden noise made her freeze. A section of a collapsed building shuddered, sending dust and small stones falling to the ground. Lyra looked up in horror. The structure was unstable. If it collapsed completely, anyone nearby could be crushed. She wanted to warn the children across the street, but her legs would not move. Her body was frozen with fear. Then she heard a voice, cold and commanding, calling out orders from the patrol. They had noticed the children. Panic surged through Lyra. She grabbed a piece of metal piping from the rubble, her only means of defense, though it was hardly a weapon. She tried to make herself small, invisible, as the guards approached. The leader of the patrol sneered. "Look at them," he said. "Useless creatures. They are nothing but trouble. Leave them. Let them face the consequences." Lyra's heart sank. There was no help coming. No one cared enough to stop the guards. Her fear turned into a heavy weight of despair. Tears burned her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She could not afford to cry, not here, not now. Suddenly, a small stone rolled from her hand and clattered across the rubble. The guards turned toward the sound. Lyra felt a surge of panic and ran. She darted through the broken streets, her legs moving as fast as they could. But the city was a maze of danger. Every step brought the risk of falling into a hole or being caught by the patrol. She ran until she reached a section of the city she had never explored. The buildings here were more ruined, leaning at dangerous angles. Dust filled the air, making it hard to breathe. Lyra coughed, covering her mouth with her hand, and continued running. She knew she could not stop. If she did, the guards would find her. Suddenly, a deep rumble shook the ground. Lyra stumbled, nearly falling. She looked up and froze in terror. A tower nearby, already cracked and weakened, was beginning to collapse. Chunks of concrete fell like heavy rain, and a cloud of dust and debris spread through the street. Lyra's eyes widened. She had no way to escape. She ran toward a narrow alley, hoping it would protect her from the falling rubble. But the debris was too fast. A large piece of concrete struck the ground in front of her, sending a shockwave that knocked her off her feet. She tumbled across the rubble, scraping her hands and knees. Pain shot through her body, but she forced herself to get up. Lyra's mind raced. She had to survive. She had to find a place to hide. She crawled into the alley, pressing herself against the wall, hoping the falling debris would miss her. Dust filled her lungs and her vision blurred. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but there was no clear path. From her hiding place, she watched as the building continued to fall. Entire sections collapsed with loud crashes, sending clouds of dust into the sky. The noise was deafening. She covered her ears, but it did little to help. She thought about the children she had seen earlier, about all the people who had nowhere to go. The city had become a trap. There was no one to save them. Hours seemed to pass. The dust settled. Silence returned to the streets, broken only by the distant cries of those injured or trapped. Lyra dared to move, inching out of her hiding place. She looked around and saw the destruction. What had once been homes, schools, and shops were now piles of rubble. The city was unrecognizable. Lyra's heart sank. The world around her seemed empty, cruel, and uncaring. She had survived, but for what? There was no food, no shelter, and no one who would help. The thought of facing another day alone made her stomach turn. Yet a small spark of determination remained. She could not give up. Somehow she had to find a way to survive. As night fell, the city grew colder and darker. Lyra found a small corner in a ruined building and curled up, trying to stay warm. She thought about the stories her parents had told her, about heroes who had fought for justice, about people who cared for others. Those stories felt like distant dreams now, almost impossible to believe. But deep inside, she clung to one hope. Maybe, someday, someone would come. Someone who would care. Someone who would not turn away. Until then, she had to survive. She had to stay strong even when the world around her had forgotten her. The wind whispered through the broken streets, carrying the scent of dust, smoke, and decay. Lyra closed her eyes, trying to block out the harsh reality. She did not know what tomorrow would bring. She did not know if she would live to see another day. But she made a silent promise to herself. She would not give up. She would fight no matter how small and weak she was. She would survive, even if no one else cared. And in the distance, among the stars, rumors of humans traveling across the galaxy reached the city. They were feared by many, known as warriors and explorers who challenged impossible odds. Lyra did not know them yet, but somewhere far away, humans were preparing to arrive on her world. They did not know it, but their actions would soon change everything. For now, Lyra stayed in the ruins, shivering and hungry, alone in a city that had forgotten her. But deep in her heart, a tiny spark of hope began to grow. A spark that would one day ignite into something powerful, something that no one, not even the cruelest overlords, could ignore. The gray dawn broke slowly over the shattered city, painting the ruins in pale light. Lyra, still tired from the previous day's terror, had found a small corner of a half-collapsed building to rest. Her body ached from crawling over rubble, from falling, and from the fear that never seemed to leave. She shivered in the cold, hugging her knees, staring at the sky as if it could offer answers that the city could not. Then, a distant sound broke the silence. At first it was a faint hum, like the wind through broken metal. But it grew louder, more purposeful, and unlike anything Lyra had heard before. The hum turned into a deep, resonant roar that vibrated through the ground. She instinctively ducked behind a ruined wall, her heart hammering in her chest. High above, the sky darkened, not with clouds, but with strange, gleaming shapes. Massive ships descended slowly, their metal hulls shining under the weak sun. Lyra blinked, unsure if her tired eyes were playing tricks on her. The ships were unlike anything she had ever seen. Sleek, powerful, and intimidating, they moved with precision and confidence. And from the reports she had overheard as a child, only one species in the galaxy traveled like this: humans. The humans landed carefully, their ships lowering massive ramps that reached the broken streets. Lyra held her breath as armored figures began to descend. Unlike the local overlords, these humans did not shout or demand attention. They moved with purpose, scanning the city, but their faces were calm. They looked ready for danger, yet there was something different about them. A presence that felt protective rather than threatening. Some of the city's inhabitants peeked from behind walls and ruins. Whispers spread quickly. The humans. They are here. They bring war. They will take everything. Fear filled the air. Humans had a reputation across the galaxy as fierce warriors, capable of incredible destruction. Many had avoided them out of fear. But as Lyra watched, she noticed that the humans were not attacking. They were helping. One human carried a large crate filled with supplies, food, clean water, and medicine. Another knelt beside a collapsed building, carefully lifting debris to rescue a trapped child. Lyra's eyes widened. She had expected violence, but what she saw was kindness, courage, and careful planning. These humans were different from the stories she had been told. They were not there to destroy, they were there to save. Curiosity and hope pushed Lyra to move closer, keeping low and hidden. She watched as a group of humans approached a broken bridge where a group of frightened aliens, some children and some elders, were trapped. The bridge groaned under its own weight, but the humans worked together using ropes, pulleys, and tools she did not understand. Step by step, they guided the trapped aliens to safety. Each successful rescue was met with quiet encouragement. "You're safe now," a human said gently, placing a comforting hand on an alien child's shoulder. Lyra felt a strange warmth in her chest. For the first time in many months, she believed that someone could care. Someone could act when everyone else had turned away. She edged closer, trying to get a better look at their technology and methods. She noticed the humans did not move recklessly. They communicated with each other silently, sometimes with gestures, sometimes with short-spoken words. Their teamwork was seamless, as if they had trained for every possible situation. A sudden cry caught Lyra's attention. One of the children she had seen hiding days before was trapped beneath a fallen wall. Without hesitation, a human ran toward the child, dodging falling debris and broken metal. Lyra's heart leapt as she watched the human lift the heavy wall with the help of others, freeing the child. The child ran into the human's arms, tears streaming down their face, and the human smiled softly, reassuring them. Lyra could not believe her eyes. Humans had always been feared, stories told in hushed voices of their ruthlessness. But these humans, they risked their own safety to save lives. They did not ask for reward or recognition. They only acted. Her hope grew, but so did her fear. Could they save her too? Could these strange, powerful beings even notice someone as small and insignificant as her? She stayed hidden, unsure if she should reveal herself. Meanwhile, the humans worked quickly. They set up temporary shelters, cleaned the streets of dangerous debris, and created safe zones for the injured. Small groups of aliens began to follow them cautiously, realizing that the humans meant no harm. Some humans carried food to starving families. Others provided medical aid with tools and medicines the locals had never seen. Lyra watched as an elderly alien woman received treatment for a broken leg. The human bandaged it gently, spoke softly, and ensured she was comfortable before moving on. Then came the moment Lyra had been dreading. A patrol of the local overlords moved through the city, their armor clanking, their weapons drawn. They had noticed the humans and the gathering crowd of aliens. Their eyes burned with suspicion and anger. Who gave them permission to land? One demanded. "This city is ours." The humans did not hesitate. They did not retreat or act aggressively. Instead, they positioned themselves between the patrol and the vulnerable aliens. One human stepped forward, calm and firm. "We are here to help. We will not harm anyone. Leave the civilians alone." The overlords laughed, thinking the humans were bluffing. But the humans were ready. Without raising weapons unnecessarily, they demonstrated strength and coordination. They moved with confidence, making it clear that they would protect the helpless. The patrol, unsure of how to act against these fearless strangers, withdrew, grumbling but leaving the humans and aliens unharmed. Lyra's heart raced. She had never seen courage like this before. The humans had not only saved others, they had saved themselves from confrontation without cruelty or force. She realized then that these were not the reckless warriors the galaxy feared. They were different. They were brave, wise, and capable of incredible deeds. As the day passed, Lyra continued to watch. She saw humans lifting rubble to clear streets, constructing temporary shelters with speed and skill, and even talking to children in gentle, reassuring voices. The aliens around her began to whisper among themselves, their fear slowly turning into awe. Humans could do what no one else had done. They could act when everyone else failed. A small group of humans approached the area where Lyra had been hiding. Something in their eyes told her that they could sense her. She froze, unsure if she should run or stay. One human knelt down at the edge of the rubble, scanning carefully. "Come out," they said softly. "You're safe here." Lyra's legs shook. Could she trust them? Could she step into the open and be safe for the first time in months? Her curiosity and hope won over fear. Slowly, she emerged from her hiding place, keeping her eyes wide and her hands visible. The human smiled gently, not in mockery, not in command, but in true kindness. "It's okay," they said. "You don't need to be afraid. We are here to help." Something inside Lyra broke. Tears filled her eyes and she ran toward the human. She had never felt such relief. For the first time, someone truly cared. For the first time, she felt that she belonged, even if just a little. That evening, as the sun set behind the ruined skyline, Lyra sat beside the humans she had watched all day. She listened as they spoke to each other in a language she barely understood, but their actions spoke louder than words. They had saved lives, restored hope, and changed the way she saw the galaxy. She realized that humans, the feared strangers of legend, had done the unthinkable. They had come to a world that no one cared about and chosen to make a difference. For the first time in months, Lyra slept without fear. The city was still broken, the world was still dangerous, but the presence of the humans had changed everything. Hope, fragile but real, had returned to her heart, and somewhere deep within she knew that the humans' arrival was only the beginning. The city would never be the same. And neither would she. The sun had barely risen when Lyra awoke. She had spent the night in a small shelter the humans had helped set up, surrounded by other aliens who had also survived the day's chaos. The air smelled faintly of fresh water and cleaned rubble, a smell Lyra had not known for months. It was the first time she had slept without fear of patrols or collapsing buildings. Her body ached, but her heart was lighter. From the edge of the shelter, she could see the humans preparing for the day. They moved with energy and purpose, checking their equipment, organizing supplies, and speaking softly to one another. Some humans approached injured aliens, helping them with care and patience. Others directed small groups to clear debris or reinforce fragile structures. Lyra watched quietly, fascinated by their coordination and bravery. Then a sudden shout broke the calm. A section of the ruined city farther away began to shake violently. Lyra's heart stopped. Dust rose from the distant buildings, and she could hear cries from trapped civilians. It sounded like the entire street was collapsing. Panic surged through her. Among the trapped was a small group of children she recognized from previous days, and, worse, she could see that one alleyway led directly to her own hiding place. Without thinking, Lyra started running toward the danger. She wanted to help the children, to warn them, but her legs trembled and her path was blocked by fallen debris. Then a human appeared beside her, seemingly out of nowhere. Tall, strong, and calm, the human grabbed her arm. "Stay close to me," they said firmly but gently. "We're going to get through this together." Lyra froze for a moment. Could she trust this stranger? Her instinct was to flee, but something in the human's voice told her she would be safe. She nodded and followed. The human moved quickly, lifting small obstacles and guiding Lyra through the maze of broken streets. They passed other humans carrying equipment and rescuing trapped aliens. It was chaos, but every movement had purpose, every action had a plan. Ahead, a large building groaned as it threatened to collapse. The children were trapped on the other side, screaming for help. Lyra's stomach turned with fear. She had no idea how they would reach them. But the humans did not hesitate. One human crouched beside a large piece of rubble and motioned for others to lift it together. With incredible strength and precision, they moved the debris just enough to create a safe path. Lyra watched in awe as humans coordinated seamlessly. One lifted a child to safety, another guided the child down the rubble-strewn street, and a third used ropes and pulleys to secure unstable walls. Their actions were fast, precise, and careful. It was as if they had anticipated every danger before it happened. But there was still one child too far away, trapped on the edge of the crumbling structure. The ground beneath them cracked, threatening to give way. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. She wanted to help, but she was too small, too weak. The humans noticed. One of them, a female human with bright eyes, looked directly at Lyra. "We need you to stay here," she said softly. "We've got this." Lyra's heart ached. She wanted to run forward, to do something, anything, but she trusted them. Slowly, she crouched behind a pile of rubble, watching as the humans approached the danger. Her eyes widened as she saw the female human crawl beneath the collapsing structure. She lifted the child with careful hands, shielding them from falling debris. Another human extended a rope, helping them climb to safety. When it was over, Lyra ran forward, unable to contain her relief. She helped the rescued children to a safe spot. "Are you okay?" she asked breathlessly, checking each of them. They nodded, clutching one another, still trembling but alive. The female human smiled at Lyra. "You helped by staying calm," she said. "You were brave too." Lyra blinked, confused. She had done nothing, yet she felt proud. The humans had risked everything to save lives, and she had witnessed it. She realized then that bravery came in many forms, sometimes in action, sometimes in trust. As the day went on, the humans continued their work. They cleared streets, reinforced damaged buildings, and treated the wounded. Lyra moved among them, helping in small ways, carrying water, guiding the injured to safer areas, and learning from their careful methods. She was amazed by their determination. They did not complain, did not argue, and did not give up. Every action had purpose, and every life mattered to them. During a brief pause, one of the humans knelt beside Lyra. "You've been watching us all day," he said with a gentle smile. "Do you want to learn how to help more?" Lyra nodded eagerly. He handed her a small toolkit, showing her how to lift light debris and carry supplies safely. "You can make a difference too," he said. For the first time, Lyra felt hope that she could survive, not just for herself but for others. She realized that she was not as powerless as she had believed. The humans had shown her a new way to see the world, where courage, skill, and kindness could overcome fear and despair. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the city. A nearby tower, weakened from previous damage, began to fall. Lyra's stomach flipped. The tower was heading straight toward her new friends and the rescued children. Panic surged, but the humans reacted instantly. They formed a chain, guiding the children away while one human used a long rope to pull debris aside. Another human climbed the side of the falling structure, moving quickly to secure unstable sections and prevent further collapse. Lyra held her breath as the tower came crashing down, dust and rubble flying everywhere. When the dust settled, Lyra blinked in disbelief. The humans had managed to protect everyone. No one was hurt. The children were safe, and the humans stood among the rubble, calm and steady as if nothing had happened. Lyra ran to them, tears of relief streaming down her face. "You saved them. You saved us all," she said, her voice trembling. One human kneeled to her level, smiling kindly. "We all have a role to play," they said. "Some of us protect, some of us help, and some of us watch and learn. Today you learned too." The rest of the day passed in a blur. Lyra stayed close to the humans, learning and helping where she could. She saw other aliens begin to trust them, helping with rebuilding and caring for the injured. The humans were not just rescuers. They were teachers, guides, and protectors. Lyra could feel the change in the city. Where fear had ruled, hope was now taking root. By evening, the sun set over the shattered city, casting long shadows on the ruins. Lyra sat beside a small fire, surrounded by humans and rescued children. She thought about how different this day had been from the many days she had spent alone, scared and hungry. She had witnessed bravery, kindness, and skill beyond anything she had imagined. For the first time, Lyra believed that the world could be better, that someone could care, even when everyone else had turned away. The humans had done the impossible. They had rescued the helpless, taught the fearful, and restored hope to a city that had almost given up. Lyra closed her eyes that night, exhausted but happy. She knew the humans would continue to face dangers, that the city still held threats, and that life would not be easy. But she also knew one thing with certainty. With humans around, she was not alone. She was part of something bigger now, something stronger than fear, stronger than despair, and somewhere deep in her heart, a spark of courage began to grow, a spark that would one day become a flame, inspired by the humans who had done what no one else dared to do. The morning sun rose slowly over the ruined city, casting a warm glow over the shattered streets. Dust and smoke still lingered in the air, but there was a sense of life returning, a quiet hope that had not been felt for months. Lyra woke in the small shelter the humans had built. Around her, other aliens stirred, their faces showing cautious optimism. Today would be a different day. The humans had planned a large operation to rebuild sections of the city and strengthen the defenses. They moved with energy and organization, dividing tasks among themselves and assigning roles to willing aliens. Lyra, carrying a small toolkit the humans had taught her to use, felt excitement bubble inside her. For the first time, she was not only surviving, she was helping. The humans had set up a command area in the center of the city, near what had once been a market square. From there, they coordinated efforts. Teams cleared rubble, repaired buildings, and distributed food and water. Lyra followed a small group tasked with reinforcing a partially collapsed bridge that connected two sections of the city. The bridge was dangerous. Cracks ran along its metal supports and pieces of concrete hung precariously. Lyra's stomach twisted at the thought of it collapsing. One human, a tall man with a kind face, noticed her fear. "We will work together," he said gently. "Step by step we can fix this." "You don't need to be afraid." Lyra nodded, gripping the toolkit tightly. She watched as the humans worked, lifting heavy beams, tying ropes, and carefully stabilizing the bridge. She tried to mimic their movements, placing smaller supports under weakened sections and handing tools to the others. Every small action made a difference, and she felt a sense of pride she had never known. Meanwhile, more aliens began to join the effort. Some were hesitant at first, unsure if they could trust the humans. But as they saw the humans' dedication, courage, and fairness, their fear began to fade. They worked alongside the humans, lifting, carrying, and repairing. For the first time in many months, the city felt alive with cooperation rather than despair. Lyra paused for a moment and looked around. Children played near cleared areas, watched over by humans who ensured their safety. Adults moved carefully among the debris, talking with the humans and helping where they could. The city was still broken, but it was changing. Slowly, hope was spreading. Suddenly, a loud alarm rang from the edge of the city. The humans reacted immediately. Some ran to check the situation, while others ensured the safety of those already working. Lyra's heart raced. Was it another attack? Had the overlords returned? She followed the humans, staying close to the ones who had guided her before. At the source of the alarm, a massive section of a nearby industrial area was crumbling. Smoke rose from cracked pipes and sparks flew where metal had bent under pressure. Several aliens were trapped inside. Lyra felt panic rise, but the humans remained calm. One human turned to Lyra. "Stay here and help those who are safe," he said firmly. "Watch and learn." She obeyed, hiding behind a large beam as the humans moved into action. The humans worked with precision. One formed a shield with a large metal panel to protect trapped aliens from falling debris. Another used ropes and tools to lift heavy machinery, blocking the exit. Lyra watched in awe as they coordinated, anticipating dangers and acting before problems became disasters. They risked their own safety without hesitation. Slowly, the trapped aliens were freed. Children and adults alike ran toward safety, guided by humans who ensured that no one was left behind. Lyra ran after them, helping where she could. She handed water to the thirsty, comforted those who were frightened, and carried small supplies. Her heart swelled with pride. She was part of the rescue. She was helping make a difference. After the immediate danger had passed, the humans gathered everyone in the safe area. One of them, a woman who had rescued Lyra before, spoke. "Today showed us all that we can protect each other. Humans are not the only ones who can act, but when we work together, we are stronger." The aliens looked at her with new respect. Some smiled, others nodded quietly. Lyra felt her chest fill with hope. For the first time, she truly believed that her people could survive and even rebuild their city. The humans continued their work throughout the day. Lyra moved between tasks, helping wherever she could. She learned how to reinforce walls, tie secure knots, and move debris safely. The humans taught her not only practical skills, but also lessons in courage, patience, and empathy. As the sun reached its highest point, a new challenge emerged. A group of hostile creatures long feared in the city's outskirts began approaching. They were large, aggressive, and had previously attacked unprotected areas. The aliens panicked at first, but the humans acted quickly. They formed a protective line, placing humans and capable aliens in front of the city's vulnerable areas. Lyra stood behind, watching carefully, ready to assist with smaller tasks. One human called out instructions and the team moved in perfect coordination. The hostile creatures charged, but the humans were prepared. They used clever traps, barriers, and controlled maneuvers to stop the attack without causing unnecessary harm. Slowly, the creatures were driven away from the city. The aliens who had watched in fear began to cheer. Lyra felt a rush of excitement and relief. Together, they had faced a threat and survived. By evening, the city looked different. Bridges were partially repaired, streets were cleared, and shelters had been reinforced. People moved with purpose instead of fear. Children laughed cautiously as they played near safe areas, and adults began talking about plans for the future. The humans gathered everyone together, sharing food, water, and guidance for the coming days. Lyra sat near the fire with her new human friends. She thought about how much had changed in just a few days. The city was still broken, yes, but hope was no longer a distant dream. It was alive in the people, in their efforts, and most of all in the humans who had shown them what courage and kindness could accomplish. One human, noticing her thoughtful expression, knelt beside her. "You have grown a lot in a short time," they said. "You learned quickly, helped others, and stayed brave even when things were hard." Lyra smiled, a shy but proud smile. She had never felt recognized before. She realized that being brave did not always mean fighting or running. It also meant learning, helping, and trusting others. As night fell, the city glowed faintly with the lights of small fires and lanterns. Lyra lay down to rest, exhausted but happy. She thought about the humans, about the aliens, and about the new strength she felt within herself. The world was still dangerous, but she had learned that even the smallest actions could make a difference. She closed her eyes, thinking of the humans who had risked so much for others. Their courage had inspired her and many others. She knew that tomorrow would bring more challenges, but she was no longer afraid to face them. She was not alone. The humans had shown that even in the darkest times, hope could rise when people worked together, cared for each other, and refused to give up. And somewhere deep in her heart, a new determination grew. She would not just survive. She would help rebuild, protect, and inspire others, just as the humans had inspired her. The city would recover and its people would stand stronger than before. Lyra's eyes closed at last, the sounds of the city settling around her. She had witnessed the unthinkable. Humans, feared by many, had arrived and chosen to protect, teach, and care. And their actions had begun to turn the tide, not just for her, but for the entire city. For the first time, she truly believed that even the smallest spark of courage could light the darkest night. The sun rose over the city, bathing the ruins in soft golden light. The streets were no longer silent or filled with fear. Children ran between repaired buildings, their laughter mixing with the distant hum of human ships preparing to leave. Lyra walked along a path cleared of rubble, her heart swelling as she observed the transformation around her. The city was still far from perfect, but it was alive, vibrant with hope and filled with people willing to rebuild. Humans were everywhere that morning, organizing their final tasks before departure. They handed over supplies to the aliens, ensured water sources were clean, and taught the locals strategies for repairing damaged buildings safely. Their movements were calm but purposeful, leaving no task unfinished. Lyra watched them work, remembering how hopeless she had felt just days before. A tall human with gentle eyes approached her. "Lyra," he said, kneeling to meet her gaze, "you have grown so much. You've learned quickly, helped others, and inspired people around you. You are ready to take care of yourself and help your community." Lyra nodded, feeling both pride and sadness. She had grown attached to the humans who had risked everything for her and her people. "Will you leave?" she asked softly. The human smiled, though a hint of regret crossed his face. "Yes, we must continue our journey. But we leave the city in your hands. Remember, what you learned from us, the courage, the care, and the hope, can guide everyone here. You are not alone." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. She had never known anyone who cared so deeply, who acted so fearlessly to help strangers. The humans had shown her that bravery was not just about fighting or strength. It was about protecting, teaching, and inspiring others. She would never forget them. As the humans prepared to depart, the alien citizens gathered to say their goodbyes. Many of them bowed their heads or clasped their hands in gratitude. The city's elders, once quiet and fearful, now spoke openly of the humans' deeds, sharing stories of their courage and compassion. Lyra listened, her heart warmed. The humans had not only saved lives, they had changed minds and hearts. The ships lifted off one by one, their engines humming as they ascended into the sky. Lyra stood with the other children and adults, waving until the ships disappeared among the stars. She felt a strange mix of sadness and inspiration. The humans were gone, but their actions had left a lasting mark. After the departure of the humans, Lyra turned to the citizens around her. "We can do this," she said, her voice steady. "We can rebuild, we can protect each other, and we can make our city strong again. The humans showed us what is possible. We must continue their work." Her words sparked something in the people. Slowly, more aliens joined her, forming groups to repair buildings, clear streets, and secure the city's defenses. Lyra led by example, lifting small beams, guiding children, and coordinating with those who had skills she did not yet possess. She remembered every lesson the humans had taught her. Courage, patience, empathy, and teamwork. The following days were filled with effort. The city began to look different. Cracked walls were reinforced, collapsed bridges rebuilt, and shelters repaired. The water supply was restored, and food distribution became organized. Lyra worked tirelessly, but she felt stronger than ever before. She knew the humans' teachings had given her more than survival skills. They had given her confidence, hope, and purpose. One afternoon, while inspecting a repaired bridge, Lyra noticed a small group of aliens struggling with a heavy beam. She ran over and helped them lift it into place. "Thank you," one elder said. "You remind us of the humans who helped us." Lyra smiled. She had never thought she could be a leader, but now she realized that leadership came from action, care, and courage. As the weeks passed, the city began to thrive again. Children played freely, markets reopened, and the community worked together to secure their future. Lyra watched as aliens taught each other the skills humans had shown them: how to reinforce buildings, purify water, and protect the city from threats. She felt proud that the humans' lessons were spreading, touching lives beyond those they had directly helped. One evening, Lyra climbed to the top of a repaired building to watch the sunset. The sky was painted in shades of gold and orange, reflecting off the city's newly strengthened structures. She thought about how far the city had come, from despair and fear to hope and determination. She remembered the humans' courage, the way they had risked everything to save lives, and the spark of inspiration they had left behind. A small voice interrupted her thoughts. "Lyra, look!" It was one of the children she had helped rescue. They pointed to a group of aliens constructing a new shelter nearby. "We're building it just like the humans showed us." Lyra smiled, her heart swelling. The humans had left, but their legacy remained, carried forward by those who had learned from them. That night, Lyra could not sleep. She thought about the future and the responsibility she now carried. She was no longer just a survivor, she was a guide, a protector, and a symbol of hope for her people. She promised herself that she would continue to act with the courage and care the humans had shown her, and that she would help others rise above fear and despair, just as she had. Months passed and the city grew stronger. Lyra worked alongside adults and children, teaching them everything she had learned. The community became self-sufficient, capable of defending itself and rebuilding with determination. The city's story spread to nearby settlements, inspiring hope in places long abandoned or ruled by fear. One day, while surveying the city, Lyra saw a group of aliens gathering near the edge of a rebuilt square. They looked up at the stars, pointing excitedly. "Look, the humans! They're back!" Lyra's heart skipped a beat. Small ships appeared in the distance, descending gracefully. But this time, the humans were not there to rescue. They had come to check on their work, to see the legacy they had left. The humans landed and were welcomed with cheers and gratitude. Lyra ran forward to greet them, feeling a surge of joy. "We've done it," she said, tears in her eyes. "We've rebuilt and we've learned everything you taught us." A human smiled warmly. "We knew you could," they said. "You have taken what we showed you and made it your own. That is what true strength looks like. Courage, care, and teamwork. These are the tools that change worlds." Lyra looked around at her city, children laughing, adults working together, streets repaired, and bridges standing strong. She realized that the humans' unthinkable actions had created a ripple effect that changed not just her life, but the lives of everyone around her. Their courage had inspired hers. Their kindness had taught her how to care for others. As the humans departed once again, Lyra waved, feeling a deep sense of purpose. She knew that the galaxy was vast, full of dangers and opportunities, but she also knew that courage and care, the qualities humans had shown her, could overcome even the darkest times. She would carry their legacy forward, leading her people with bravery, compassion, and determination. The city, once broken and abandoned, had become a symbol of hope. And at its heart stood Lyra, a young girl who had been saved when no one else cared, now transformed into a leader who would ensure that hope never faded again. And somewhere in the stars, humans continued their journey, leaving behind a galaxy that had witnessed their bravery, their compassion, and the unthinkable good they could bring. Lyra knew that one day the galaxy would remember the story of the feared humans who saved a city, a people, and a girl who refused to give up. The world was changed forever, and so was she.